Hey guys, Luke on Sean's channel. Today I'm going to be going over my Crystal Beast deck profile. I really love Crystal Beast. I've been a Crystal Beast player even before the Structure deck gave us some crazy support. I've done a few different profiles on the channel that are pretty much Crystal Beast based. One of the first ones being a rank 4 build, another one being the Conclave control build. But it's just my nice, fun, generic Crystal Beast build that kind of takes the two different decks, kind of makes them into one sort of hybrid. It doesn't focus on one side particularly. It's just a nice, really cool Crystal Beast build. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Starting things off, we have one copy of Rainbow Dragon. So Rainbow Dragon is very good, mostly just because we need him in our hand in order to get the full effect off of Awakening up to Crystal Ultimateness. It's very rare that we'd actually bring out Rainbow Dragon in this deck. We can do it. I've built a deck so that it is possible for us to bring him out. But most of the time, we just need an Ultimate Crystal monster in our hand in order for us to get the effect from Awakening Crystal Ultimateness. Crystal Ultimateness is, of course, an essential card if we run a tree in this build, so one copy of a Rainbow Dragon is very much essential. People like to run it at more than one. People run it at 2. I definitely don't recommend running it at 3. 2 you can make an argument for, but I think running it at 1 is most optimal for this build. 3 copies of Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. I find it so weird calling him that because I'm so used to calling him Zenith. Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon though is very, very good because it has 2 effects which make it an essential to run at 3 in this build. The first effect I want to talk about is the one that when he's placed face up in the spell and trap card zone, he has a very good effect where he can banish himself from that face up spell and trap card zone in order to add Rainbow Dragon from our deck to our hand, and then also special summon a level 4 lower Crystal Beast monster from our deck but negate its effects. Reason why that's so good is that's a quick way to get the 1/0 Rainbow Dragon into our hand so we can make our Awakening of Crystal Ultimateness live. And also it's a good way to get a bunch of Crystal Beasts onto the field in order to do our link plays, XZs, or whatever needs to be done in order for us to win the game. But Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon also has a cool little battle trick that when an attack is declared involving a Crystal Beast monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is very, very good because it's a good, easy way to bring out a big 3000 attack beater. So 3 copies of Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, very essential for this build right here. My favorite 3 copies of Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. Sapphire Pegasus is a really good starter, probably your best normal summon in the deck. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can place 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell and trap card zone, which of course is very good because a lot of our Crystal Beast cards get really good effects when we have more Crystal Beast monsters face up in the spell and trap card zone, i.e. One effect that we just mentioned earlier, if you can normal summon Sapphire Pegasus, you can put your Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon face up in the spell and trap card zone and then use Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon's effect in order to go into your good Link and XZ's plays as long as getting Rainbow Dragon to your hand. So 3 copies of Sapphire Pegasus is very, very good. Also the fact that it is a level 4, great for rank plays, and it's the wind is great for our link plays. So 3 copies is very essential. Rounding off our Crystal Beasts, we have 1 of each of the other ones. Amber Mammoth, Topaz Tiger, Cobalt Eagle, Ruby Carbuncle, Amethyst Cat, and Emerald Tortoise. Look, there's not really much of a reason to run more than 1 copy of any of these cards. You can make the argument for Ruby Carbuncle. I know in Conclave Control, I pretty much run only the cards I mentioned previously, being Sapphire Pegasus, Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, and Ruby Carbuncle, and there could be an argument for Cobalt Eagle. But because this is a nice fun build where I like to do some XZ's plays, it's good to have a few more level 4s that we can bring out onto the field. And since we have good link plays, it's good to have a bunch of other guys in the deck. And also having as many Crystal Beast monsters in the deck with different names is easier to bring out, or Rainbow Dragon and stuff like that. So of course, I just love it. Also the nostalgia factor is absolutely great. So 1 copy each of all the other Crystal Beast monsters. Rounding off our monsters, 3 copies of Effect Veiler. This can be replaced or sided out or in depending on the matchup Reason why I main deck it is the fact that it is a Spellcaster monster, which is very good for a Selene play that we have in the build. And also just monster effect negation is also very good no matter what the matchup is. So 3 copies of Effect Failure, I main deck this. Moving swiftly along to the spells, we have 3 copies of Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart is probably the best bit of support any deck has ever received from a structure deck. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart was pretty much the elevation that this deck needed in order to take Crystal Beast to the next level. For those of you who don't know what Rainbow Bridge of the Heart does, I keep forgetting what this card does because it has so many different effects. I'm just going to read it out now. Basically, one of the main things about it is that you can normal summon 1 Crystal Beast monster in addition to your normal summon set this turn, which is very good. And then you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. So also during your main phase, you can destroy 1 Crystal Beast card you control or 1 in your hand. And if you do, you can add 1 Crystal Spell or Trap from your deck to the hand. And also, if a Crystal Beast card is placed in your Spell and Trap card zone, even during the damage step, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, return both this card and that card to the hand. So not only does this card give us an additional normal summon, search us an extra Crystal Spell Trap, it also has a return to hand effect. This card does fucking everything and we absolutely love it for it. 3 copies of it is very good for the build. I still run out of 3 copies even though that it is searchable with Awakening of Crystal Ultimateness. I still find that you really want to see this first turn opening hand, so 3 copies of it is very essential for the build. Alright, the infamous card I kept talking about, Awakening of Crystal Ultimateness. This is absolutely great. This is another bit of new support that came in the structure deck. What makes this card so good is, besides the one downside where you need to reveal an ultimate crystal monster in your hand in order to activate the effects, it still has some very powerful effects from it. So you can activate one of these effects if you reveal the ultimate crystal monster in your hand. However, if you control an ultimate crystal monster, you can activate both these effects, which kind of happens just on occasion. Most of the time you only activate one, but if you're able to pull off bringing out Rainbow Dragon or one of the fusions we have in the extra deck, you can absolutely use both these effects, which is still really cool. So both the powerful effects being the first one, take 1 Rainbow Bridge card or 1 Rainbow Refraction from your deck now add to your hand or send to the graveyard. So the Rainbow Bridge card that we're talking about here is either Rainbow Bridge itself or it's Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. Both Rainbow Bridge cards, so it's good to kind of get them to your hand. Also, the second effect is that you can special summon 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, graveyard, or face up in your Spell and Trap card zone. Just being able to flood the field with Crystal Beast is very good for our Link plays and Xyz plays. It's also good for control sort of strategy when we're placing it in coordination with our Crystal Miracle and Crystal Conclave as well. Hey guys, I'm currently editing the video right now. I just want to quickly add on that this deck is just missing 2 copies of Golden Rule. So at the time of recording this, I didn't have Golden Rule physically. And also it's still a fairly new card at the time of recording, so I didn't really consider it a contender, but after playtesting with it online and stuff like that, I definitely think it's an essential card to run at least 2 in the build. I think 2 is more than enough, so if you get your hands on that, I'll definitely add it to the deck. Crystal Bond is one of my favorite searchers for any deck that there is, just because you get so much benefit off of basically a rota for the deck. So what Crystal Bond does is not only does it add a Crystal Beast monster from your deck to your hand, it also places 1 Crystal Beast monster with a different name from your deck face up in the Spell and Trap card zone as a continuous spell. Which is just absolutely crazy. You can pretty much just add your Sapphire Pegasus and place your Crystal Beast, Rainbow Dragon face in Spell and Trap card zone. Normal summon your Sapphire Pegasus to get another Crystal Beast monster face up in your Spell and Trap card zone, and just use all those other crazy effects of Crystal Beast, Rainbow Dragon by banishing from face up in your Spell and Trap card zone. Basically, I'm kind of rambling on, but 3 copies of Crystal Bond is very good. Absolutely crazy starter. You'd love to see this in your opening hand, especially when you're going first. So definitely run it at 3 copies. Some people make the argument for running it at 1. I know in my Conclave control build I ran it at 1, but just because I really like consistency, I think 3 copies of Crystal Bond is really the way to go. What also makes Crystal Bond so good is the fact that you can search the searcher. Yeah, Rainbow Bridge just simply has the effect that you can add 1 crystal spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Speaking of consistency, if you can get a searcher that searches a searcher, you know this deck is fucking gold. I run 1 copy of Call by the Grave. This kind of is a deck that can both lean into a control aspect, but can also lean into a combo aspect. So Call by the Grave is a good way for us to not get interrupted. 1 copy of that in the deck. Since I also play combo with this deck, 1 copy of Double or Nothing is really good for an OTK line that we can do. I also run 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. The main card you're going to be dumping off of your Foolish Burial Goods is definitely Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. So what Rainbow Bridge of Salvation does is that you can banish it from the graveyard and add 1 Crystal Beast monster and 1 field spell from your deck to your hand. And that can be any field spell. I know Crystal Beast has a bunch of different field spells that you can add, but I find none of them to be very good. The field spells that we run in this build that you're able to search off of this little combo right here is either Necrovalley or Secret Village of Spellcasters. So Necrovalley is pretty self-explanatory. Crystal Beasts don't really rely on the graveyard, and if you're playing against an opponent who does rely heavily on the graveyard, Necrovalley is a good way of shutting that down. Necrovalley pretty much states that any card that's in the graveyard stays in the graveyard. There's no moving, no bullshit. Which is very, very good to shut down a lot of decks. But Secret Village of Spellcasters, I kind of talked about putting this in the side deck when I was going through my Conclave control build. But after reading a few comments, I do kind of agree with the idea of having it in the main deck, just because the deck is so consistent anyways that it's no problem if we run just kind of like 1 card that could potentially be a brick, which we don't really mind because it's only a potential brick if we can't get out one of our Spellcaster monsters, which we can do because we run Spellcaster monsters in the form of 2 links that we have in the extra deck. So Secret Village Spellcasters is a really good way that if we control a Spellcaster monster, we're able to completely shut down our opponent from activating spell cards. So those are the most optimal ratios I find to run in this build. I always find Necrovalley to be very, very good. Secret Village Spellcaster might be sided out if you're going against a Spellcaster deck specifically, but we can worry about that bridge when we get there. So finishing off the traps, we already talked about Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. I still stand by only running that at 1. But to round things off, the final traps we have in this deck is 3 copies of Crystal Conclave. Crystal Conclave I kind of slept on for a long time, but I actually do find it to be very, very good. This is where the whole name of Conclave Control comes in. It's from this card itself. Crystal Conclave is a continuous trap that has the effect that once per turn, if a face-up Crystal Beast monster you control destroy a battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 Crystal Beast monster from your deck. So it's a good way to kind of like recycle and go through all your resources of your Crystal Beasts that are in your deck and really decked in to get to your really powerful cards. And also the more that we can flood Crystal Beast cards onto the field is a great way for us to keep control of the game and really get our benefits off of the other cards in this deck. Speaking of cards that we benefit greatly from if Crystal Beasts are on the field, 3 copies of Crystal Miracle. Crystal Miracle, another great bit of support that came from that structure deck. It is a counter trap, which means that it can't be responded to unless it's by another counter trap. What Crystal Miracle does is when a spell / trap card or a monster effect is activated, you can destroy 1 Crystal Beast card you control, and if you do, negate the activation. If you do that, destroy the card. Pretty much in Omni Negate, we're able to pull this off, which is absolutely great, especially for the cost of just destroying 1 Crystal Beast card that we control. It also has a secondary effect that if a Crystal Beast card is placed in your spell and trap card zone while this card is in the graveyard, even during damage step, you can banish this card and place 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell, which comes up a few times, but honestly, the main thing we really want to focus on is the first effect of Crystal Miracle. The fact that it's a really good way to control the game is very, very good, very essential runners at 3. Some people like to run it at 2, but again, I really think this is a really powerful card, so I definitely run it at 3 in this build. Moving on into the extra deck now, we just have 2 fusions. We run 1 copy of Rainbow Overdragon and also 1 copy of Ultimate Crystal Rainbow Dragon Overdrive. Again, this is kind of just a fun build, so I like to have the main boss monster of Crystal Beast to be in the extra deck, just because this is just a bit of fun. If you want to play this super competitively, you don't necessarily have to run these cards, maybe you run it with some better floodgates, but I find one copy of each in the extra deck to be a really fun, interesting way to kind of like bring out the end of duels, and also if you're able to pull off bringing this guy out, it's an achievement in itself. So why not kind of flex a little bit and show it off? So one copy of each in the extra deck. Kind of already mentioned that we can bring out some pretty good rank plays in order to mess with our opponent. So if your opponent relies heavily on the graveyard, a good low floodgate to go against them would be a Twist Dweller, which is easily brought out with 2 level 4 monsters. And another really good rank 4 monster is number 60 Dugaris. Dugaris is brought out with only 2 level 4 monsters, and he has 3 different very powerful effects, which either one of them can benefit us no matter what. One being that you skip your next draw phase, you also draw 2 cards and discard 1. Another effect being that you skip your next main phase 1, also special summon 1 monster from your graveyard in defense position. And finally, last one is skip your next battle phase of your next turn. Also, double the attack of 1 monster you control until the end of this turn, which is very, very good. Kind of funny way you can get interactions with those cards right there. So 1 copy of each is very, very good. And also, you already seen we run 1 copy of Double or Nothing. So just a little Utopia double package is very, very good to get our OTKs out. So 1 copy of number 39 Utopia Double, 1 copy of just a regular number 39 Utopia. I really like this art actually. I think this art is really, really cool. It came in dual power. Let me know what your favorite Utopia art is. I actually think this one is my favorite. So pretty much any deck that can do a rank 8 play, I like to run the number 97, number 100 package. This is a really good OTK enabler. Number 97 is able to bring out number 100 in order for number 100 to go in for a 9,000 attack monster. But if that kind of like doesn't really work out, it's also good to have just a 1 copy of Hope Harbinger in the extra deck anyway. It's just because Hope Harbinger is a very good spell card negate, which can be very crippling to your opponent if they really need their first spell card to kind of enable their combos. So 1 copy number 97, number 38, and 1 copy number 100. Very, very good for this deck. Now, as previously mentioned, we have Spellcasters in our extra deck in order to make our Secret Village of Spellcasters live. 1 copy of Wind, the Wind Charmer, and 1 copy of Asa, the Earth Charmer. Of course, Wind Charmer for the obvious, we can use our Sapphire, Pegasus, and Cobalt Eagle to bring them out. And the Earth Charmer, of course, we can use our Amethyst Cat, Topaz Tiger, and Amber Mammoth in order to get this out. So these are the two Spellcasters that we run in our extra deck in order to make our Secret Village Spellcasters live. These are the 2 I'd recommend you run. Running Dark or Lina might be a bit of a risk, especially Dark. Lina might be a bit of a good call, but just based on the ratios in this build, I run the Wind one and the Earth one is probably the most optimal choice for this build right here. Of course, you know with most of my decks I like to run either one or both of these little Nightmare cards. Pretty good generic cards. In fact, the Crystal Beasts are able to spam the field is very, very good in order to bring out these powerful link monsters. Unicorn is able to shuffle the card from the field back into the deck, and Phoenix is a good spell / trap card pop. So 1 copy of Phoenix, 1 copy of Unicorn I find to be very, very good for this build. Finally, rounding things off, the reason why we main deck Effect Fader is because we have Selene in this build, and Selene is a very good OTK enabler when we're pairing it with our Access Code Talker. So 1 copy of Access Code Talker, 1 copy of Selene I find to be very, very good for this build. Selene's a link tree, and if we use her as material for Access Code Talker, we're able to bring Access Code Talker up to 5300 attack. Completely wipe the field of our links in the graveyard and go in for OTKs. So that's very, very good for this build right here. We're going to round things off with the side deck. 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. Honestly, if I were to make any changes, kind of looking at this deck right now, I probably would main deck Dimensional Shifter and put them in the main deck instead of Effect Failure. But this deck, of course, is open to interpretation. I'm kind of just thinking of this kind of on the spot, just because Dim Shifter can be very crippling to some decks. But considering that Dim Shifter is, of course, a good card, but doesn't necessarily apply for every single deck that I can mess up, Effect Vera might be a bit more generic, which might make it a little bit better. But 3 copies of Dim Shifter, since we don't really rely on our graveyard, we really don't care if all of our cards get banished, so 3 copies of that in the side I find to be very, very good. It's always good to run some Kaijus in the side. I have 1 copy of Gameciel and then 2 copies of Gadaria. You know, some people might just run 3 copies of Gameciel, but I don't know, I kind of like the idea of running kind of different Kaijus in case we're going against a deck that we know we want to run all the Kaijus when we're siding in, and if we happen to open 2 Kaijus, one being Gameciel and another being Gararia, it's good that we can Kaiju our opponent's monster and just be able to bring out the stronger Kaiju to our own field. So that's the ratio I run, but if you want to just run 3 copies of the weakest Kaiju, which is Gameciel, you can go ahead, that's no problem at all. This is just a ratio I like to run myself. 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is just a very good generic hand trap. It can be crippling for a lot of decks. A lot of decks don't like to be interrupted by Ghost Ogre, so 3 copies in the side, absolutely great. If we're going against those pesky back row decks, we like to have some form of spell/trap card removal, so 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone I find to be very, very good to run on the side. And finally, 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier can be very crippling to a lot of decks, but since this deck can do a lot of rank plays and fusion plays and link plays, we can pretty much use Dimensional Barrier and it wouldn't affect us too much. Because we're facing against an Xyz heavy deck, Dimensional Barrier can really mess them up and we can just like focus on our link plays. And same thing goes, Branded of course is a massive deck right now, so the fact that we don't care too much about our fusions just because it's hard to bring them out, if we Dimensional Barrier them and call fusion, it can be very crippling to their end board. So 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier in the side deck I find to be very, very good for this build. So yeah, that about does it for the build. Please let me know what you think. I'm very happy with the way this deck turned out. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I love playing this deck in all different forms of styles. So if you want to check out the other Crystal Beast deck profiles I made on this channel, please be sure to check them out. We also do a lot of other deck profiles, a bunch of different kind of content on this channel that I'm sure you guys will enjoy. Please make sure you check those out and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because we have plenty more content on the way. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.